when we are together, when we help each other, when we are in this together with someone
Mm.
else, we are civilization. Without that, we are not a human race. We are not civilization. It's relationships that we are wired up for. That's what is necessary for us to live for us to just live life. But then we go on to know that those healthy relationships is what makes it a great life, an audacious life,
Right.
a life that we really want.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man.
Oh, greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our mission is to help you live your best audacious life ever. It's always a pleasure to be here sharing insights and inspiration with you, and I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. Today, we'll dive into a topic that is foundational to our well-being, and it's the importance of relationships. Healthy relationships are essential for a fulfilling life, contributing more to our happiness than career ambitions or even material success. And many of us chase that, but that's not where the true happiness lies. You know, think of your life as a garden. The flowers represent your achievements, your career, and your material possessions. While beautiful, they need the rich soil of relationships, friendships, love, and connections to truly flourish. Without healthy relationships, that garden may wither no matter how many flowers you have. In today's episode, we're joined by Dr. Mark A. Hicks. He's a psychologist and author who specializes in love and relationships. He passionately advocates for the understanding that love is a learnable skill. Dr. Hicks outlines 5 essential components necessary for building healthy relationships. They're grief, emotion, practicality, acceptance, and passion. He also emphasizes the importance of self-love as a prerequisite to loving others. Additionally, we'll explore how to trust must be both given and earned, and the significance of forgiveness in our emotional well-being. Dr. Hicks, like I said, he's a great guy to chat with. He's a psychologist with a deep understanding of the dynamics of relationships. He's the author of Learning Love, where he elaborates on the 5 components I just talked about. These are necessary for fostering healthy relationships. You know, with a background in counseling and a passion for personal growth, Dr. Hicks combines his professional expertise with his personal experiences, making him a very relatable and insightful guest on today's podcast. He's very, very relevant, like I said, to our discussion as he provides valuable insights into the components of love and relationships, which are essential to living an audacious life. His expertise in the field of psychology equips him with the knowledge to help listeners navigate their relationships in a very, very meaningful way. So now that we've got the table all set and we're ready to go, let's turn to our conversation with Dr. Hicks. Enjoy. Hey, Mark, thank you for joining me here on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for making the time to do this, man. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
This is absolutely a pleasure to be able to, engage in conversations that potentially can help others. Is always a thrill and treat for me to be a part of. And so I want to thank you again for helping me fulfill my mission, if you will. Here on this podcast, we spend much time encouraging individuals to live that best audacious life that we talk about here, and a life that is meant uniquely for themselves as individuals. And we all are on our own path. They're not going to be the exact same. It's going to have our own obstacles as well as own rewards, right? And so it's very important that we live what that path is designed for us. You were your area of specialty. I mean, you wear all hats yourself. I mean, as an author, a doctor as well. I should Dr. Mark Hicks, right? Hicks. So I mean, all these things that you're doing, and you specialize in the topic of love and
Right.
meaningful connections and relationships, and helping people understand that better. And so maybe as a starting point, I can sort of open up a bit for you and let you introduce yourself to our audience and talk about the work that you do, and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I believe that if we are going to live that best life, it's going to come down to relationships. And that's not just my belief. Studies have shown this. There was a study out of Harvard that covered 80 years that showed that people who were happy in life were people who had healthy, happy relationships above everything else. There's a lot of other things that we pursue in life, but beyond our career, beyond money, beyond achievement, beyond all these things, what really creates a healthy, happy lifetime are healthy, happy relationships. And not just at home, but if we bring that same principle into our work life, if we have strong connections with our coworkers, if we have deep friendships, if we have connections all around us with humanity, with God, with the planet, name it. Whatever it is we love in this life, we need that connection. We need that to be healthy and a happy, thriving relationship. And I believe everyone can build that, not just out of will or desire, but through an actual skill set. That's what I teach is the skill set of love. I teach in my book. My book's called Learning Love, and I teach the five components of love. If everyone learns and practices those five components, you can build healthy relationships in every area of life, even if you've come from a dysfunctional family, or you've been through a divorce, or you've had some sort of relationship trauma, or even if you have kind of good relationships, but then you look and think, something's missing, something's just not quite right. It's not bad, it's not dysfunctional, it's not toxic, and it's just not quite there. That's because you're probably missing one or two components. You're getting three or four maybe right, but you're missing one or two. If we learn the five components of love and put those into practice, you can build healthy relationships in your life, and that's what builds a great life.
I definitely want to get in those five components. Well, I guess where I want to start is explore this topic of why meaningful relationships are so important to us, and why having those connections matter and make the difference, the kind of difference that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate further as to the significance of meaningful relationships in our lives?
Yeah, we're wired up that way. We are not meant to live life alone. Even the most introverted person that feels like, yeah, I could go it alone. There are those lone wolves out there, but at the end of the day, we all need somebody. We're wired up that way. We were born into a family. We were born into a connection with our parents. That may have gone well, it may not have. That can be a dysfunctional relationship or it can be a beautiful relationship. But either way, we were born into that family, born into the connections of life. We need each other. In fact, there was a study or a conversation with an anthropologist, and I forget the name, and I apologize. I've forgotten the name of the person, but they asked, what is a sign, the first sign of civilization? And they said the first sign of civilization is a healed femur, a broken leg that has healed.
Yeah.
Because that in the days of old, if someone broke their leg, they couldn't work, they couldn't escape the wild animals, they couldn't gather food, they couldn't survive without help. And so the first sign of civilization is that someone was able to be cared for enough to heal that broken leg, survive that, and go on. When we are together, when we help each other, when we are in this together with someone
Mhm.
else, we are civilization. Without that, we are not a human race. We are not civilization. It's relationships that we are wired up for. That's what is necessary for us to live for us to just live life. But then we go on to know that those healthy relationships is what makes it a great life, an audacious life,
Right.
a life that we really want.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I love the sort of the historical piece regarding a healthy, a healed femur and what that means, and it makes total sense. I guess where it's interesting, considering how important relationships are, um, why so many of us do a poor job with it, maintaining them,
Yeah,
building them, or connecting them. Like it's you would think that, and again, and we're talking about all relationships. We're not just talking about again
right.
husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, like all relationships. Somewhere along the lines we struggle with them, and we
Yeah.
don't do it well, as important as they are. Um, any insights as to why that is?
Somewhere we have the idea that love just comes naturally, that it just happens. that you're with the right people, or you find your niche, or you get to the right place or meet that right person, that it just happens.
Mhm.
Imagine if we took that same approach to our job. We just sort of wait around and see what happens, and maybe a great job will come along.
Right.
No, we go get training. We go to school, at least high school. We know in society that we have to have some education, so we require education up till high school range in our
Right.
society. And then many people go to trade school, they go to college, you go into some sort of internship. We are trained for that job. And then even when you have that job, you have continuing education, you have training days, you have all these new things that we have to learn over the course of a career. It's the same thing for food. We put effort into that. Farmers are growing that food at great effort. We are going to, we have a whole system for getting food to the grocery store, and then we have to go and buy it, and we have to earn money to go buy it. There's a whole system to make sure we have basic necessities like food.
Right.
What's our system for love and relationships? Well, we go by what our family did, which
Right.
is usually a terrible idea. Even if you come from a healthy family, even if you come from a great family that was very functional, it was functional in its own way. Every family has its own brand of odd and quirky and just plain weird. And that works for them. That's fine. That's a great thing. But you get out into the real world away from your family, and you start seeing that the relationships aren't as easy outside of your family because you had a unique way of doing things. And you get with other people who also came from healthy, happy families, but they had their unique way of doing things. And sometimes those have a really hard time of matching up in friendships and in workplaces and in romantic relationships and marriages. They don't match up, even though both were fine the way they were in your family. And that's best case scenario. From there, we're talking about toxic families, dysfunctional families, abusive families. You come out of that. How do you know what love is and how to build healthy relationships when there's no training mechanism? There's nothing to teach us that. We just kind of wing it and go by what our family did. And then if it doesn't work out, we assume, well, that romantic partner, that spouse, that friend must have just been a jerk. Well, maybe that could happen,
Right.
but in
Right.
reality, many of us just don't have the understanding of what love is and how to live it out. We've just, in some reason, and I don't understand why, but we've decided to take the most important thing in life, love and relationships, and just wing it and have no real understanding of what it is. Yet
Right.
we spend so much time digging into the details of jobs and how to grow our lawn and how
Sure.
to how to clean our how the system for cleaning our house and all of these things that we work so hard at, and then we just wing it when it comes to love. That just doesn't work.
Well, and it seems that we when it comes to love and relationships, it's kind of like you learn on the job, right? And you okay, this didn't work out. You take if you have the wherewithal, because not everyone takes from that lesson and moves on, is carry the same thing, or so it's either one of the two things. They either carry the same things over and over again and wonder why it doesn't work, and I can't find the right partner, or I can't find the right husband or wife or whatever, or that's one way of doing it. The other way is you take from those experiences, you look how maybe how you contributed to it, or what your role in it was, and you build that and learn. It's one of those two things
Yeah.
that seem to take. Could there be another one perhaps, or is there something I'm missing?
I, I think no, you really have to do that. You have to take from the experiences you've had and you have to learn from them. That's what happened with me. I didn't always know what I know now. I can teach love and relationships now. I am passionate about teaching it. And I didn't always know this. Even though I came from a healthy family, I had great parents that treated me well. But as I said, it kind of worked in that environment. I learned a certain way of doing things, got out into the world, didn't understand how the world really worked, didn't understand how things could be toxic and manipulative and all the things that can be in relationships. And I ended up as a young man in a toxic first marriage, ended in divorce. It was a horrible situation. I still have the emotional scars from that one. And from that, I began to ask these questions. Is love even real? Or is it just some fantasy that we pretend to have? Is it something that we can all have, or is it something just a lucky few people stumble into because they happen to
Right.
find the right person? I started to ask these tough questions. Now, professionally, I come from a background. I'm a psychologist or a counselor. I've studied psychology and counseling, have a master's degree in counseling. I've also studied spirituality and religion, and I understand the theology side of life as well. And from those
Mhm.
two tracks of my career in both counseling and theology, both of those deal with love and relationships. In counseling, that's what we talk about. It's relationship with ourselves, relationship with others. In theology and spirituality, we talk about relationship with ourselves, relationship with others, relationship with God. And from those tracks, in asking those tough questions on a personal level, I was able to apply that professional experience and understand we have to learn how to do this. And sometimes those tough experiences are what it takes to sort of get us out of this routine that we
Right.
grew into with our family and understand this is something we have to actually learn to do. And the good news is we can learn to do it, that we can learn to build the relationships that we want.
So I think it's only fitting that we do dive into these components of love, and you said there's five of them, and these will help us. At least once we understand them, these will help us to have better relationships. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you learn and practice these five components, you can build healthy relationships in every area of your life. And in my book, I go into depth on exactly how to do it, but I'm happy to run through the five quickly here
Sure.
with you.
Yeah.
The first one is grief. And that surprises people because when we talk about love, we often think that we're going to talk about bubblegum and butterflies, everything sweet and beautiful. And we do get to that. I want to make that clear. That is part of it. But no one gets through this life without scars.
Right.
Everyone goes through tough times. And if we're not careful, if we don't understand how to grieve and deal with the grief of life, we will have a tendency to put up emotional walls, put up barriers, keep people at arm's length, try to protect ourselves because we've been hurt. That makes perfect sense, but what we're actually doing is building our own emotional prison. We are keeping people out of our life, barricading ourselves into these walls where we can't really connect with people. We may want to, but we're walled off in our emotional state because we've been hurt before. And that's very
Mhm.
common. And it doesn't have to be some major tragedy. It can be something smaller that just hit us the wrong way at a vulnerable point in our life. It may be a story of getting turned down for a date in college, but the way you were
Yes.
turned down was just a humiliating experience. And in the scheme of life, it's not a big deal, but in that moment, it just felt like I don't want
Yeah.
to be hurt like this again. And so you put those barriers up and you keep people away. If we know how to grieve, that's our comeback story,
Gotcha.
regardless of what's happened. Big things or small things, even if we've come from a dysfunctional family, if we've been through a divorce, we can grieve that hurt so that we keep our hearts, our minds, our lives open to the connections that are available in the future because we've healed from these hurts in a positive way. Now, that may take counseling. And I really object to anybody that puts a stereotype or a stigma on that. Counseling is necessary if we've been through major hurts in life, just like we would go to a doctor for a physical injury or a dentist for our tooth or a mechanic for our car. Going to a counselor is just as necessary for the emotional and mental hurts of life. So get help and get through that grief so that we can stay connected. The next component is emotion. That's the bubble gum and butterfly. That's what we're all looking for. We're looking for that emotional connection that we really want in life, that feeling of that we are in this friendship, we're in this right place, we're in this marriage, we're in this family, and we're in this together. That feels good.
Yes.
And for some people, it's really easy to show emotion. For other people, it's more difficult. That's okay. That's a personality trait. For those that's more difficult, I just say it's a practice. Start small. If you've been hurt before and you're coming through that grief process, you don't have to just throw your life open emotionally. Just start small. Learn to say, I love you. And if love was a loaded word in your family that was used as an abuse tactic, then say things like, I appreciate you or
Right.
thank you. Say something that shows emotion and connection. The third component is a balancing component to that. It's practicality.
Okay.
Emotion brings us together. Practicality keeps us together.
Okay.
These are the decision making elements of our relationship. How we live together well. In a marriage, how do we deal with money? How do we make parenting decisions? How do we keep the household? Things like mental health,
Okay.
depression, anxiety, that can take a toll on our life. It can also take a toll on our relationships, and those are treatable conditions. That's why it's a practical matter. It feels very emotional, and it is, but it's a practical matter because those are treatable conditions that can destroy our relationships, hurt
Yes.
us, and hurt our relationships. But when we get help, that's a practical matter of dealing with our mental health so we are there for that relationship. There's lots of practical things we can do, making good decisions to stay healthy in ourselves and in our relationships, to live life well together. That balances that emotion. You may have heard someone say, well, I love them, but I just can't live with them. Those are
Yes.
people that have connected on the emotional level and have
Yes.
have excelled in the emotional component of love, that second component, but have failed at the third component of love. They don't live together well. So we need both. The fourth component is acceptance, and this is
Okay.
twofold. One, we have to accept our partner or our friends. They're not going to be perfect. Now, we don't accept abuse. No one's
Right.
put on this earth to be abused.
That's correct.
There's limits to this. But within reason, we have to accept that the partner's not going to be perfect. So we have to have certain levels of acceptance there. But more importantly, it's about accepting ourselves. We have to love ourselves first in order to love other people. Brene Brown's done some great research on this. Other people have done as well. Have done that as well, but she's very noted for it. And it's great writing that she does.
Yeah.
We have to love ourselves before we can love other people.
Right.
It is not possible to love someone else more than we love ourselves. And we get this mixed up. We think, well, if I kind of feel a void in myself, if I can find other people to love me and appreciate me, they will then validate me, and then I can love myself. Sounds logical, doesn't work. We have to love ourselves first because love is organic. It's not a commodity like money that we can go get a second job or take out a loan or borrow money from a friend. We have to grow it organically within us in order to give it away. And when we
Yep.
understand that, we love ourselves first so that we have the capacity to love other people. And finally, there's the fifth component, which is passion.
Hmm.
This is a passion for life. This is enjoying life. This is if we've come through the grief and we've come through the emotion of it and we've come through the practicality and we're making good decisions and we've worked on ourselves in such a way to love ourselves so we can love others, enjoy that. Have some fun. We
Right.
forget sometimes that this is all in order to enjoy our life with the people that we love. Now, we know life is serious, so that's why practicality is the third component. And we know life is tragic at times. That's why grief is the first component. We don't forget those things, but
Yes.
let's not forget to have fun.
Yeah.
People that we live with, that we love, we appreciate, enjoy that. So many people get into the grind of life and they're in a marriage and they're having the kids and they're building the house and they're getting the promotion and they're doing all the stuff and they think, is this it? Well, no, it's not it. We need passion for all those things. We're doing all that to build a great life. Let's enjoy that life. Now, that's a quick
Right. Right.
overview, but if we have grief that we can come back from the tough times, we connect emotionally, we live together well in a practical way, we love ourselves first so that we have the capacity to love others, and we live life with passion, you can build a relationship, healthy relationships, happy ones in every area of life.
Mark, so first off, thank you and for sharing so beautifully. As you're running through that, I'm thinking it naturally does make sense. And
Hmm.
I have a hard time for someone going, I don't understand that. And perhaps there's aspects that might be a bit more difficult or challenging, but at the end of the day, they really like again, you can't love others if you don't love yourself, right? You can't.
Right.
The grief. I thought starting off with grief was absolutely beautiful because I can think of many examples, instances where that wall, as you said, has been built up, and that blocks others from getting in. That blocks that connection, and blocks that relationship from thriving. Um, I actually remember once I had a partner for years who just shut down. She had a sort of terrible situation that took place, and every year annually at this instance, like she just was shut down. And I just remember how hard that was to try and to navigate. Like if you think on the people on the other side, like, well, what do you say? What do you do? How do you respond? How do you support? And and then so yeah, the grief one I think beautifully is a great place to start. Interestingly enough, I'd love to know from your perspective. it's not that they're in any particular order into how you do these things. You can attack them from any level or any point that you're at. Or is that
No, they are not in any particular order. That's the struggle of trying to give a list because it always implies that there is some sort of hierarchy or order or importance, and that is not the case. I'm glad you brought that up. They're all five important. They all five interconnect, and they all five not only are important, but they're essential to work together. They all help each other, and that's why sometimes if we have even a good relationship, we feel like something's missing. Because even if we're doing three or four of these, if we're missing one or two, we may have a good relationship. We may even call it a great relationship, but it still feels like something's missing. That's because all five are necessary. All five work together. And this is a way to conceptualize what love is. As you said, it makes sense. It's just practical. This takes away this mystery of love being a million moving parts, always trying to figure out all these nuances. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be practical. It's a learned skill set. And we can look at these five components and think, which ones am I doing well? What's working? And what am I missing? So that we can focus in on this is the area that's missing. We don't have to beat ourselves up and think I just don't know what love is or I'm a mess or all this stuff. We don't have to do that. We can look at the five components and say, I'm getting these two right. I'm missing these three. Maybe because I didn't come from a very healthy family. That's okay. You have the skills abilities to learn those three. Maybe it takes some counseling. Again, that's perfectly fine. That's what counselors are for. That's what coaches are for. That's what
right?
therapists are for. Find someone to help you build those two or three components, or maybe even all five if you came from a really abusive background. That's okay. Build those. You can conceptualize, look at, see what's happening, and you continue to do that. Listen, I'm not perfect either. That's still a
Right.
practice for me too. I
Very true.
understand this, but every day it's a practice. We never arrive at perfection. We're all, even when we understand these five components, it is a practice that we are putting into place every day. And sometimes we have to look and say, you know what? This one I'm not doing very well. I need to get my act together in this component, or we need to get our act together on this component. That can be a great thing that we can always measure how we're
Well,
doing on a practical level
yep.
by looking at these five components.
We're all works in progress, Mark, right?
Absolutely, we are.
I know for sure. Um, Curious so I know we started talking about personal relationships, but professional relationships, this also applies too, does it not?
It absolutely does. Just think about, say, for an office,
Hmm.
things are not always going to go well. Though, you're not going to get that account that you really wanted, or you're going to have that struggle, or maybe a coworker dies and the office just isn't the same anymore, or someone leaves for another job and it just feels like you're going into an empty space because you were really close to that person, or you don't get that those are all grief processes. To come back from that, to not put up the walls, to not dread going to work every day, you've got to go through that grief process to get to a place you can stay connected with what you love to do, with what you do for a living. And we do hope you love what you do for a living and you care about those coworkers. And so you have to get to that grief process. It is an emotional place that it's not the same emotion obviously as you have for a family or for a friend, but we love what we do. It means something to us. We care about our coworkers. And so there's an emotional bond. There's that celebration that comes with when you do get that account you want or that great report, the quarterly reports, and you grieve together when things don't go well, and you support each
Right.
other. And it takes practicality. You've got to work together well. You got to make good decisions. You got to have an office environment that makes sense, that everybody's working together in a good way. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to come in and know that you can contribute to this office and not just think you're faking it, not just have this imposter syndrome where you think, I hope nobody finds out that I'm just kind of winging it here. You got to believe in yourself that you have a contribution to make to what you do for a living, and you have a valuable contribution to make that and enjoy making that contribution because you believe in yourself. And finally, you got to have some fun. Every day in the office isn't going to be fun, but some of them can be. And you look for that. You look for those moments to laugh with a coworker, to celebrate, to have some fun, to just enjoy what you do in life because work is a big part of life. And so enjoy it as much as you possibly can. Again, you apply those five components, you can go to work and enjoy what you do and love your life at work, and then come home and apply those same components to love what you have in your household.
I very much appreciate when you talked about love and you sort of gave those like, different ways you can show love in the workplace. Oftentimes, I don't know if the conversation of love in the workplace are together. Like if it's a professional setting, there's no place that, we can't talk about loving. There's work to be done kind of a thing. And so I think those examples you gave are really, really very good because it does. I believe love exists everywhere, and so and
Yeah,
why not the workplace? Just because it's a professional setting doesn't mean you can't love.
exactly. It's different kinds of love. It
Yes.
manifests different ways. Obviously,
Yep.
love for our coworkers or love for what we do for a living is different than the love we have for a spouse or our children. But the the basic components of building those healthy relationships are exactly the same.
Yeah, yeah. Self-love, I think, is another big one for a lot of people. We hear a lot more conversations about the importance of self-love these days and taking care of yourself and yourself first.
Mhm.
And you think of the example of you're on an airplane and the pilot will say to you, in case
Yep.
of an emergency, the oxygen tank falls down and put something on yourself first because you
Right.
really are no good to others if you can't help yourself.
Exactly right. And for some reason, we have this idea that if we drain ourselves dry, we sacrifice ourselves, that somehow we are a giving person. It makes us a good person. And we do have these insecurities and these voids in our life. And rather than addressing those, it's easier to think, well, if I just found the right person, if I just found this right job or this right friend or whatever it might be, that they would fill that void. That is actually not possible. But we believe it, we think it, and it's perpetuated through some of the romance novels and the
Sure.
rom-com movies and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not opposed to those; those are fun. We put that in the fifth component of love. Those are fun. We have
Yeah,
fun. That brings passion. It's not practical. Rom-com movies are not the practicality element, not the component of practicality. And so we get this idea that if I just had that right magical person in my life, it would fill those voids. It doesn't. We have to feel that ourselves. We have to heal from those hurts. We have to build our own self-love in order to love others. And you're right, it is heard more today because of writers like Brene Brown that I quoted and others that are doing a great job bringing this to the forefront and saying this is the only way, this is not just a way. The only way you can love others is to love yourself. There's no other path because we don't have the capacity to love other people more than we love ourselves. And this has been around for a long time. I said I come from a spirituality background. I
Mhm.
hope I don't mean to get religious on anyone here, but
No, go
Jesus
ahead.
was one that said,
Yeah.
love your neighbor as yourself. Now, that makes no sense if we don't love ourselves. But what Jesus knew long before the scientific evidence came out is that we don't have the capacity to love any more than that. We can only love our neighbor as we love ourselves. That's the full capacity. And so he was already saying, just love your neighbor to your fullest capacity, which neighbor is everyone. Love
Mhm.
people, love everyone in your life, love everyone around the world as much as you possibly can, which is how you love yourself. Jesus first said it, first one I know of that said it. There might have been others that said it as well, but now it's been scientifically proven through psychological research that he was right. That you can't love other people more than you love yourself. If you want to love your neighbor, love your spouse, love your coworker, love yourself.
First, got you, got you. There are 2 points, to areas I want to touch on in relation to relationship in relation to relationships, that I think are important, and I'd love to get your take on it. We all know them. Trust and the ability to forgive others. I think those are two
Yes.
two key aspects of functioning, healthy relationships. Can I get your take?
Absolutely. Two absolutely critical aspects. First, let's take trust. Trust has to be given and earned at the same time. It's this dance that we do, and it takes time. That's kind of what dating is for in romantic relationships. If you just throw open the doors of trust and you just trust blindly, you are going to get hurt. I really hate to say this, but the reality of life is there are predators out there,
Yep.
and they will see you coming. There are toxic, abusive people in the world, and they will see you coming if you are a person that just throws open the doors of trust. They will find you and they will hurt you. And so we have to be somewhat guarded at first, but not completely. If we close down and we don't allow people the opportunity to earn it, if we watch them every second, then we can always say, well, they didn't do anything wrong, but if I wasn't watching, they might. You have to give people enough room to earn your trust, but not so much room that they can destroy you.
Right.
And we do this little dance. People earn trust. Sometimes they slip up, and that has to be corrected. And they earn more trust. We give more trust. They earn more trust until we can trust each other completely. And keep in mind, they're doing the same thing with us. They're giving us enough room to earn trust, and we have to earn that as well. It is given and earned simultaneously in this dance that we do
Yeah.
over a period of time, not too much time. We can't be too slow about it. So it's this a very complex idea of how do we get there. We get there by giving it and earning it simultaneously over a period of time. As I said, that's kind of what dating is about. It's about getting to know if you can really trust this person literally with your whole life if you're thinking about getting married. Can you really open up to this person? That takes time. And so give enough for them to earn it, but not so much where you're too vulnerable. Now, when we get to forgiveness, because as we're giving that trust, some people are going to betray us, some people are going to hurt us. There are going to be people that will hurt us along the way. And that forgiveness is twofold. There's
Okay.
two aspects to it. One is it is a commitment
Okay.
to not seek revenge either in reality or in our imagination. And the latter is more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We don't seek revenge. We don't, even if somebody deserves it, we don't set out to harm them. Forgiveness is a choice to not harm somebody, even if they deserve it, even if it's in our power to do it. And we also don't seek to harm them in our imagination. Because sometimes we won't hurt them physically, we won't do anything to harm them, but in our imagination we think, oh man, what I would do to them, what I would say to them, I'd get back at them so good. And we imagine this stuff. The problem is our brains don't really distinguish the difference. Our
Gotcha.
brains, when we're ruminating on this stuff, it's having the same physical, mental, emotional effects on us as if we did literally have our hands around their throat. When we imagine it, it does the same thing to us, and it has a harmful effect on us. Forgiveness isn't about them; it's about us. It's about
Mm-hmm.
making sure we don't have these harmful effects on us by. Now, let me qualify this a little bit. If somebody does something illegal,
Sure.
them facing the consequences is not seeking revenge. That's their own consequences.
That's
And
right.
so we don't rescue people, but we don't set out to intentionally harm them. And we don't imagine harming them and seeking that revenge. Now, the second aspect of forgiveness is the decision of whether or not we reconcile. Forgiveness does not necessarily mean reconciliation. One of the practical aspects, that third component of love, one of the practical aspects is we do not have to have a relationship with everyone. We do not have to have a relationship with every person. And so the decision has to come if we're going to forgive someone, and we need to forgive everyone. We don't seek that revenge. And then after we choose not to seek revenge, either in reality or our imagination, we make a choice. Do I want to reconcile with this person? If the answer is no, we have every right to set boundaries and say this is an abusive person. This is a person that can't be trusted, and they no longer can be in a relationship with me because I'm going to live in a healthy place. And they are obviously not living in a healthy place, so they can't be in my life. They've made a choice to live outside my healthy boundaries, and that's their choice, and I respect it. I may not like it, but I'm going to let them live outside my healthy place.
Right. Right.
So we don't have a relationship with that person. If we choose to reconcile, that's going to take some time, and we're back to trust. We're going to give some trust, and they have to earn it. And we
That
go
dance
back and
again.
forth in this
That dance
dance.
again. Right.
That dance again. We're going to dance with this person again to re-earn that trust over some time so that we can build that back and know that we can go forward without hindrance, without holding a grudge, without ill feelings, because we have chosen not to seek revenge. We have chosen then to reconcile, and we've done that dance of trust to that place that it is restored. And that's a beautiful thing, but it is not required. We do not have to reconcile just because we forgive.
Got you. Makes sense. Makes total sense. I think when we talk about trust and forgiveness, they work hand in hand very much. So that's kind of why I
Absolutely.
love them. And so again, I appreciate that in the dance and also the idea of our brains not knowing to make the distinction between true or fact or fiction or truth or reality. And so that's
Yeah.
a good important point. If there's something about love that you think people really need to understand? It comes down to, I don't know, one basic core piece or principle or
Mhm.
idea. What would you think that would be if there is one?
It is that it's a learned skill set. We mentioned this earlier. It is a learned skill set. We don't wing it. It's not a million moving pieces. It's not a mystery. It is a learned skill set. And when we learn these five components, put them into practice, we can build those healthy relationships. And that's such good news to people that have come out of difficult relationships and trauma and dysfunction to know it can be learned. And it's good news to everyone who thinks there's something missing in my relationship. I wish we could get to that next level, but I don't know what it is. When we understand the five components, it is a learned skill set. We can know where to go. We can know what to work on. And so moving love from this mystery, from this anomaly to something that is a learned skill set is a core issue that allows us to have the relationships that we want.
Gotcha, gotcha. So your book again, it's learning
Learning
love,
love.
building a life that matters, and healthy relationships that last. For listeners, I wanted to pick up a copy of your book or connect with you directly. Where can we send them, Mark?
Go to my website. It's markahicks.com. Make sure you get my middle initial in there. My last name is Hicks, markahicks.com. You can find an easy link to my book to order that now. There's also my links to my podcast. There's a free ebook on my website that gives a brief overview of these five components, just as I've done today. You can get my free ebook on my website. There's also a contact form there because I'm available for speaking engagements, workshops, for coaching. Let me know how I can be of service.
Awesome. Well, Mark, we'll make sure that the appropriate contact details will be in the show notes, so listeners can connect with you. I really appreciate this lesson today on love and learning about the five components, but more specifically that it's a learned skill that we continue to refine and practice over and over and over again. I just hope that we don't hurt too many people in the process of learning, but nonetheless, I think it's a learned skill that all of us take some time investing in. So thank you. I really appreciate this. And thanks for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Oh, truly my pleasure. Thank you.
Back we are here on the podcast. Much thanks and appreciation to Dr. Hicks for joining us. You know, he emphasized that healthy relationships are not just an addition to life. They are essential for happiness and fulfillment. He shared the five components of love I mentioned off the top. Those are grief, emotion, practicality, acceptance, and passion. And he explained how each of them plays a critical role in building a strong connection to other people. You know, one key aspect that resonated with me big time was the idea that self-love is a foundational to loving others. It's a reminder that we must nurture our own hearts before we can extend that love outward. You know, I loved how Dr. Hicks articulated the dance of trust in relationships, highlighting that it takes time to build and earn trust while also protecting ourselves from potential harm. His approach to demystify love, really making it clear that it's a skill that we can all learn and refine. If you've enjoyed this conversation and you want deeper info into Dr. Mark Hicks and his work, I encourage you to connect with him directly. You can find his website markahicks.com, where you'll find links to his book, Learning Love, and other resources. Additionally, Dr. Hicks offers a great ebook on his website that provides an overview of the five components of love that we just discussed today. It's a fantastic resource for anyone looking to enhance their relationships, and it's a very, very good starting point. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning into another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. I hope today's episode inspired you to prioritize healthy relationships in your life. If you found value in the conversation, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, or share this podcast with family and friends if you haven't already done so. Your support, of course, helps us to grow and reach even more listeners. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.